Everyone should officially be on the hype train for Team USA hockey because it has been fun this Olympics. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Boston Balling, your home for all things Boston sports. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, currently the host of this show, as well as the Locked On Red Sox podcast, which is a daily Red Sox show available on any podcast platform. So make sure you continue to subscribe to both shows if you want to hear a mix of all kinds of Boston sports talk. And Wednesdays on this show are typically days when I talk about the Bruins, but the Bruins are still on their Olympic break. And I figured this would be a good opportunity to talk all about Team USA hockey, men's and women's, because both teams so far have been killing it in the Olympics. And it's been a lot of fun to watch both of these teams play. I mean, on the women's side, they have made history in terms of goals allowed this Olympics. And the men's team looked really solid coming out of pool play. Do we need to see more from them? Maybe. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about both teams on today's show, as the men's team looks ahead to a quarterfinal game against Sweden, and the women's team looking forward to the gold medal game, big game tomorrow against Canada. Hopefully they can take home the gold. But this women's team has really just played really solid hockey all around over the course of this Olympics. They have just been rolling. When they went into their most recent match against Sweden, that team was looking really good as well. So Team USA improved to 6-0 in the tournament and was ready for the match against an undefeated Sweden team. And it turns out USA handled them pretty smoothly, scoring 4 goals in the second period and then hanging on to the 5-0 lead for the win in the third period. This game was just so much fun. If you are an American watching this game, the most impressive goal came from Abbey Murphy, who had the puck, took her time, and sniped it over the goaltender's left shoulder and under the post for the goal. What a remarkable goal to be scoring. It was just a fun matchup for the U.S. And early on in the game, I was a little bit nervous because it was a little bit more competitive, but then they kind of ran away with it once they found their groove. And that's the thing with this women's team, is if you let them get hot, it's going to be a long day for you. And that was one of the biggest things I noticed about this team in this entire tournament. They have outscored their opponents 31-1 in the tournament. The only goal came against them in the second period of the first game against Team Czechia. They've shut out every other opponent, and they also haven't scored fewer than 5 goals in a contest, with 6 against Team Italy in the quarterfinals and 5 against every other opponent. I mean, it's truly remarkable. Shout out to Aerin Frankel, whose goaltending was spectacular, but the defense also really stepped up against Sweden. Megan Keller and Layla Edwards have truly been among the best defenders for this team throughout the Olympics and totally deserve all of the props for that. They're relentless on the forecheck, and their offensive attack doesn't give their opponents any chance to breathe at all. So it's really challenging going up against USA's defense if you're any other team, which is one of the biggest reasons why they are where they are. Head coach John Wroblewski has really commended his team a lot over the course of this tournament and says that they've been a wagon, and they certainly earned their chance to play for gold at this point. One of the big things that I noticed with them in their most recent matchup against Sweden is that they had trouble staying out of the penalty box. That's one of the things they need to keep in mind moving forward, because in the second period, they took 3 penalties and almost let Sweden shift the momentum. So that would have been tough if Sweden was able to capitalize on those penalties, because then USA would have been in a lot more trouble. The USA team ended up scoring 4 goals in the second frame, but they were outshot 13-11. So we can't really say that Sweden wasn't competitive, although they couldn't get anything through. This is something that I am a little bit concerned about moving forward with this team, is are they able to stay out of that penalty box? Joy Dunn is the youngest player to ever play for the U.S. at 20 years old. She stepped up big on the penalty kill. For sure. She disrupted passes on the forecheck and had a couple of good poke checks, one of which ended up leading to a breakaway, but she was stopped by goaltender Ebba Svensson Traff. Dunn was all over the place on the penalty kill and was the main reason it remained perfect. So she deserves her flowers too and deserves credit and is putting the hockey world on notice with how young she is, but her athleticism and ability to compete and shut down some of the best hockey players in the world. The U.S. definitely does need to be more disciplined in its final contest. Even a team as good as they are can only take so many penalties until it makes them pay. And Canada is no joke of a team. Obviously, they kind of rocked Canada in their previous matchup in this Olympics, but Canada was missing its best player. So if she does end up playing in this game, this is going to be a tough matchup for USA if they don't clean up some of this sloppy play that they have shown. But overall, I mean, the dominance that this team has shown over the course of this tournament has been remarkable. I mean, the storyline behind them setting records and not allowing goals at all really is a lot to do with that credit I was talking about to the defense and the goaltending. But Sweden should definitely be proud of the way that they showed up in this matchup, because while it isn't easy to be shut out of a semifinal game, they're a young team that will now play for bronze. They definitely need to keep their head up and focus on playing Switzerland and be able to move on from what happened in this game. There's a big learning experience attached to this, and for players on that team, they should be very proud of how far they've come. They truly did hold on until midway through the second period against the U.S. too. I mean, like I said, early on in this game, I was nervous because this was a competitive matchup for a lot of it. So USA needs to play more consistently better hockey for all 60 minutes, 100%. But they are the favorite to win this tournament for a reason. And I'm going to be going over the full list of players that they do have on this team. So for goaltending, they have Ava McNelton, Aerin Frankel, who's been getting a lot of reps in there and deserves a ton of credit for how dominant she's been, and Gwyneth Phillips, who also has been playing a little bit in goal as well and has been effective for Team USA. For defenders, Lee Steckling, Kayla Barnes-Harvey, Megan Keller, who's in there as an alternate, Rory Gilday, Haley Wynn, and Layla Edwards. I mean, like I said, Megan Keller and Layla Edwards have been standouts. Lee Steckling also has had her moments as well. And I mean, I can't say enough about this defense as a whole that has truly fueled the fire for what has been a really dominant Olympic team right now. For forwards, they have Kirsten Sims, Kelly Panek, Grace Zoomwinkle, Haley Skamura, Britta Curl-Salemi, Hilary Knight, who's a captain, Tessa Janecki, Hannah Bilka, Joy Dunn, Alex Carpenter, who's an alternate, Kendall Coyne Schofield, Taylor Heise, and Abbey Murphy. Now, that's a strong line right there. That's just a strong set of forwards. And what I will say is that a lot of these players have been contributing. I mean, Abbey Murphy has had her moments. Taylor Heise has been a playmaker. Alex Carpenter has been really solid for USA in this tournament, scoring lots of goals. Hannah Bilka, Joy Dunn. I mean, you name it. The list goes on of girls who have really contributed a lot in this tournament. Britta Curl-Salem, another big one who I really appreciate and like. Shout out to Hilary Knight, who's the team captain, Boston Fleet player, so she's representing Boston really well. She's showing a lot of leadership both on and off the ice, and that's something that a lot of people really respect about Hilary Knight's game, is her ability to be a true on and off ice leader. And that's something that also helps with camaraderie with Team USA right now, is her ability to help lead them and guide them in the right direction when it comes to staying motivated throughout the course of this tournament and being able to be a team that is considered really dangerous. So I'm definitely really happy with what I've seen on the offensive side. I mean, the way that these girls have worked together to be able to produce goals and make plays on the ice has been something that's been truly noteworthy. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the overall roster for this women's team. And they are riding with a lot of momentum going into the final. I mean, with how dominant they've really been, Canada's also lost to them one time already. So USA is already feeling a little bit extra confident going into this matchup. I mean, the thing with Canada, though, is it is hard to lose to a team twice. Now they see USA, they've seen what they can do. So at the same token, USA has seen what Canada can do, although with the injury to their best player, that could be something that comes to a surprise to USA in this matchup. But the thing with Canada is that now that they may be fully healthy and they've seen Team USA and they've seen how these ladies operate together, that could give them a little bit of an advantage going into this finals, which, by the way, is tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. Eastern time. So just keep that in mind, that it is in the middle of the day. So if you want to watch it, make sure you plan accordingly. I know I will be locked into that. So Aerin Frankel wants to make sure that she's a reliable backbone for her teammates whenever she's in between the pipes for this women's hockey team. She said that she knows the more trust they have in her, then the more opportunities they can take to push the puck up the ice and try to light the lamp themselves. She said, our team is always playing super well defensively. This was after they shut out Canada 5-0 in preliminary play. She said, it's super fun to play behind them, and I am trying to be a constant for them back there so that they can play free and play with our speed and our skill and know that I am back there when they need me. And she truly has been that backbone. I can't emphasize enough how good she has truly been for this team, for them to be able to go do their thing on the other side of the ice. And the trio of Frankel, Gwyneth Phillips, and Ava McNaughton, who I alluded to a little bit earlier, have combined for 4 straight shutout wins and a record-setting no goals allowed streak of 271-23, dating back to beating Czechia 5-1. So it's pretty impressive what they have actually been doing. And the lockdown defensive performance in ways has been overshadowed by the offensive eruption that has come from the red, white, and blue. But they lead the winter games with 26 goals and a whopping 225 shots on goal. The U.S. has won all 5 of its games in regulation with 14 different players scoring at least 1 goal. So there hasn't been any overtime necessary for them, which has been good because they've just been so dominant. And the head coach, John Wroblewski, also made a comment. He said, I'm a big believer that the best offense is the best defense, puck possession, hunting loose pucks, holding court, making this hard on the defense as you possibly can make it. He said this after the 6-0 victory against Italy in the quarterfinals. He said, so if they are going to go on offense, then they've earned their entire 200 feet and they're caught in between changes, and then you're ready to reload the fresh players. That, to me, is the name of the game for defense. That being said, we take every opportunity to talk about line rush sort outs being parts on breakouts, parts on funnels as opposed to positions. And so trying to read off each other as much as you possibly can. An inline rush against volatility. We talk about rushes that other teams have. We talk about all the different scenarios that you might see in a game. And he believes it is a true team effort. He said it's always a team effort, but special shout out to our goalies. We have 3 great goalies. Aerin has been playing incredible too. I love our defense. We have a great D squad, and the way that our forwards commit to defense, we love to see too. It makes everyone's job easier. So he's really enjoyed coaching this team. And in summary, at the end of the day, it is a team effort. Everybody needs to be a part of it, and everybody needs to contribute in a way that's making their team better. And in terms of overall ability, there's no reason why this USA team shouldn't be taking home the gold. Will it be a shutout? Maybe not. This time, I mean, I'm sure Canada is going to approach this game differently than they did the first time that these teams played against each other. But when you look at the overall roster makeup and the way that USA is just so well-rounded, so dominant on offense and so dominant on defense, as well as so dominant in goal, we should feel confident going into this game that USA has the ability, a strong ability at that, to take home the gold. But they do have to be less sloppy, and they do need to stop with taking these penalties, because if they start giving momentum to a team like Canada, they could very easily run with that. And the last thing you want is to give the other team that momentum unnecessarily. So if I'm Team USA, I'm locking in all facets of the game, cleaning up the sloppy play, but continuing to play using their identity. And if their goaltending is as dominant as it has been throughout the course of this entire tournament, then there's no reason to not pick USA to win the gold. So I will certainly be locked into that game tomorrow. Going to be looking for key contributions from really everybody, but especially their biggest assets offensively, and the ladies who have really been stepping up into those roles of scoring and assisting on goals. We're going to really need all of those players to continue to step up, and we're going to need Hilary Knight to be able to motivate the team overall. But I really like what I've seen from them. I mean, they've been so dominant this tournament, and the men's team has also been fun to watch. So I'm going to be coming up talking about them and what to expect from them moving forward. But just a quick reminder to continue to subscribe to Boston Balling on any podcast platform. I am here Monday through Thursday discussing all things Boston sports. You can also subscribe to my other show, Locked On Red Sox, on any podcast platform as well. And this is to really just keep you in the loop on everything going on in Boston sports. Make sure you subscribe to both of those. You can also catch me on social media at Gabby Maljanian on Twitter and at Gabby_Maljanian10 on Instagram. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Boston Balling, and also my other show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. So if you're looking to stay caught up and be in the loop on everything going on in Boston sports, make sure you utilize all of those different platforms and hit the like and subscribe buttons there. Team USA women's hockey may be dominant. I mean, there really are not many flaws to that team. The only slight flaw that I talked about was that they just need to play a little bit more cleanly and stop with ending up in the penalty box, because that could very easily change the momentum of a game and it could hurt them down the road. So that's the biggest critique I have of the women's team. But overall, they've been solid in mostly every facet of the game, between their offense, their stellar defense, and their phenomenal goaltending. So I'm expecting to see more of that in this gold medal game against Canada at 1:10 p.m. tomorrow. But the men's team is also preparing for another matchup at 3:10 p.m. today. If it's past Wednesday at 3:10 and you're listening to this, well, the game might have happened already, but as of the time I'm recording this, the game hasn't happened yet. But the men's team has also been very exciting over the course of this Olympics. They ended up going undefeated in the preliminary round with wins over Latvia, Denmark, and Germany to secure a quarterfinal spot. So one of my biggest takeaways for them is that they've been playing with a very physical, high energy style driven by their main offensive pieces. So the Tkachuk brothers, a strong offensive performance from captain Auston Matthews, and solid, dependable goaltending from Connor Hellebuyck. Now, this is always interesting, and I was saying this to somebody the other day. It's always weird when you find yourself having to cheer for players that you normally despise during the NHL season. Like, what do you mean Auston Matthews and Tkachuk brothers, them scoring makes me happy? I mean, it's so weird to me that I find myself thinking that. And with how dominant Connor Hellebuyck has been in goal, I prefer for him to be playing goal over our own Jeremy Swayman. Not that Jeremy Swayman has been bad, but Hellebuyck has just been so dominant in the course of this tournament that it makes a lot more sense to put him there. So it's really weird as a Bruins fan to be rooting for these guys to succeed. But when you want your country to win in the Olympics, that is kind of how these things go. But they definitely have had some really strong play as well. They outscored opponents 16-5 in their bracket play to secure this quarterfinal matchup against Sweden. They've just been so dominant, and they're playing a very gritty and physical game, wearing down their opponents overall. And Zach Werenski and Jack Hughes, who ended up moving to wing, have also played key roles for this team on top of the guys that I already have mentioned. And Jeremy Swayman, after having a shaky performance against Denmark, again, not that it was bad, but it was definitely not his best. So that's why Connor Hellebuyck has kind of been taking over as being the dependable goaltender who's been starting these key games. And that's why I expect to see more of him moving forward. And room for improvement with this team. Coach Mike Sullivan did note that the team is still an unfinished product with some slow starts and defensive zone structure needing improvement. And I definitely agree with that. We haven't really seen the full potential of this team, and guys do need to step up more overall on this team for them to really unlock their true potential. Because if they unlock their true potential, they, just like the women, should be able to win the gold medal, but they haven't exactly fully played up to their potential, and that's what coach wants to see more of. So I am looking forward to seeing how they continue to perform, but key takeaways in their most recent game against Germany that sent them to the quarterfinals. Really monster game from Auston Matthews. When he's at his best, he's a top 5 player in the world. No doubt about it. Such a good hockey player. There's no denying that. And that's the version of him that Team USA needs in order to win this gold medal. And he's who showed up for the US in their game against Germany on Sunday. He was a force for the Americans, winning all kinds of puck battles in the offensive zone and getting himself to dangerous scoring areas. Matthews did a lot of hard work, and it ended up paying off for him and the team. On his first goal of the game, he planted himself right in front of German goalie Maximilian Frasreb and deflected a Quinn Hughes point into the net. And then on his second tally of the day, he once again put himself in front of the net, this time redirecting a Jake Sanderson shot pass on the back door. If the U.S. intends to go through Canada to win a gold medal, it needs its centers at their best to compete with Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, and Sidney Crosby. Jack Eichel has been playing at a high level all tournament, and Matthews just provided a star performance as well. So they definitely need everybody to be at their best in order to continue to compete against some of the other really good countries. And Hellebuyck did look sharp. So he's a guy who obviously during the season isn't our favorite goalie because he doesn't play for the Bruins, but there's no denying that he has the talent. He isn't getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame on the strength of this game alone, but he was very good nonetheless. He stopped 23 of the 24 shots he faced, and he's now up to 39 saves on 41 shots against in this tournament. Although he hasn't exactly been peppered, he's been exactly what Team USA needs him to be, which is dependable. That was especially the case coming off of a disastrous showing in net from Jeremy Swayman against Denmark. Like I mentioned, I mean, disastrous isn't exactly how far I personally would take it. Some people are calling it that, but could have been worse. Could have been worse. They won the game, so that's what matters. But yes, I do agree that Hellebuyck has been miles ahead of him. And he's just been a stabilizing presence. There's no doubt about it. And he's presumably going to start every game the rest of the way. Them having to play still to their potential, what I mean by that is more people need to step up. I mean, between Jack Eichel and the Tkachuks and Auston Matthews, they've shouldered a lot of the burden on offense, but Matt Boldy and Jake Gensel still have more to offer. Dylan Larkin hasn't made a significant impact after being a major factor at the Four Nations face-off last year. And Clayton Keller providing an upgrade over Kyle Connor is something that a lot of people thought, but he didn't. So more juice can be squeezed out of what is a loaded roster. So all of this to say that obviously the team hasn't played poorly. They've still played really well, but if the goal is to win a gold medal, they haven't quite been good enough to get to that point yet. So Sweden is a dangerous matchup with a lot on the line, and they will just have to, and I really truly do mean have to, play their best game of the Olympics to advance. This is not going to be an easy road moving forward. And because we haven't fully seen the full potential of them, because more players have to step up, that's where I'm at. And that's why there is a little bit of some nerves going around. So I want to go over the full USA Hockey men's roster as we look ahead to the elimination round of this tournament. So for forwards, they have Matt Boldy of the Wild, Kyle Connor from the Jets, Jack Eichel from the Golden Knights, Jake Gensel from the Lightning, Jack Hughes from the Devils, Clayton Keller from the Mammoth, Dylan Larkin from the Red Wings, Auston Matthews, who I mentioned a bunch on here, from the Maple Leafs, JT Miller from the Rangers, Brock Nelson from the Islanders, Tage Thompson from the Sabres, who, by the way, I haven't really talked about him, but he has overall had a good tournament too. Me being a UConn fan, I'm glad he's representing UConn very well. He has definitely had a couple really nice goals in this tournament too, but I would like to see him step up a little bit more offensively to contribute in that way. The Tkachuk brothers, Brady from the Senators and Matthew from the Panthers, and Vincent Trocheck from the Rangers. That is the list of forwards that Team USA has on the squad. For defense, Brock Faber from the Wild, Noah Hannafin from the Golden Knights, Quinn Hughes from the Canucks, Jackson Lacombe from the Ducks, Charlie McAvoy from the Bruins, Jake Sanderson from the Senators, Jacob Slavin from the Hurricanes, and Zach Werenski, who I also mentioned, from the Blue Jackets. Shout out to Charlie McAvoy, also playing for Team USA. He and Jeremy Swayman representing. I really love seeing the Bruins players on this big Olympic stage, giving them the chance to compete for their country. I think it's really special, and whether you're one of the key contributors or not, it's still good to be able to look back on and have that experience of saying, wow, I competed in the Olympics and represented Team USA. For goaltenders, I already mentioned Jeremy Swayman and Connor Hellebuyck, who has been the true standout from the Jets. Jake Ottinger from the Stars is also there, but Hellebuyck will presumably be the starting goaltender moving forward. And so that's what the makeup of goaltenders is. At least with Jeremy Swayman, he can look back on this and say he had the experience of playing for Team USA in the Olympics. And that's what a lot of this is about. You take pride in representing your country. And obviously they really want to take home the gold medal. That's the goal here. But for these guys to be able to sit there and say, wow, I got to compete on a really big stage for my country against the best hockey players in the world, like, that's such a rewarding feeling. So there's not really much that's going to top that in terms of them being able to say, yep, I did it. I competed against the best hockey players there is, really. So Jackson Lacombe from the Ducks ended up being an injury replacement. This type of stuff does happen. If a player is ruled out, they need to bring somebody else in to play for them. But overall, when you look at that roster, that's a very talented team. And if they are playing at their best, they can succeed and win the gold medal. And it's just going to be interesting to see how they go moving forward, because I can't exactly look at how this men's team has performed in pool play and confidently say that they've been as good as the women. I mean, the women's team has no doubt been able to show up and dominate the competition. The men's team isn't exactly just dominating everybody in the same way that the women's team has. So I can't confidently sit here and say, yeah, I feel for sure like they're going to win the gold medal. The women's team, I feel a lot more confident in right now. The men just really need to step up a lot more than they have been. You would think, based on the box scores of these games, that they were dominating too, but that just really has not been the case. They need to get off to better starts, just been starting too slowly in each of these games, and they just weren't as convincing as expected against other teams with no other credible medal threats. So the 5-1 victory over Germany was definitely a step in the right direction, but they definitely need to find their footing a lot earlier in these games, because the risk is that if they continue to start off too slow, other teams are going to be able to take advantage of that and are going to get off to a good start. And then US isn't going to have enough time to climb back in it. So definitely need to start off stronger than they have been. The last time the U.S. men's hockey team captured Olympic gold, a group of college standouts and minor league players engineered the miracle on ice. So 46 years later, the Americans are hoping that it is at last their time again. That goal is still attainable, but they will have to raise their level of play significantly, because Canada is the gold medal favorites, and the U.S. hasn't exactly matched Canada's dominant 20-3 group stage opponents' performance. So we'll see how that all plays out. But either way, I've really enjoyed watching Olympic hockey. There's definitely a different feel to it than you get in the middle of a hockey NHL season, because the intensity is there. Every game matters so much more. So you have that intensity of also knowing that the entire world is watching, as opposed to just, me as a Bruins fan watching, for example, a Bruins Lightning game. A lot of times it's just those two fan bases that are watching, whereas now you're on a global stage. So now if you think you couldn't handle pressure before, now is when you have to handle that kind of pressure. So what I'm really looking forward to the most moving forward is just seeing how these guys continue to respond to the added pressure of playing at the highest level, because you really don't know. This could be too big of a stage and too big of a moment for some of these guys. And I'm hoping that since they were able to get a taste of what this all was like during pool play, that maybe now they'll be able to approach these rounds and saying, okay, we know what to expect on this type of stage, so now we can go out there and dominate. So they need to change up a little bit of what they're doing, be able to start off on a higher note than they have been, and we really just need to see more from some of these players who haven't stepped up fully in the way that I think they should be. But I'm really excited to see how the rest of this tournament plays out. The gold medal game for the men, just putting it out there, is at 8 a.m. Eastern time this upcoming Sunday. So if you want to watch the game, better be setting those alarms. I definitely will be setting my alarm and watching it, but no promises on me not going back to sleep after the game is over for another hour or so, because I definitely will not enjoy getting up that early. But hey, just remember, Italy is 6 hours ahead of the US right now, so the times aren't always going to fall in times that cater to us. And so 8 a.m. is what it is. So if you're motivated to watch the game, which I hope you are, you better be prepared for that early wake up, because it's coming. But middle of the day matchups for the men and women moving forward generally, and that's what a lot of it has been. It's been either those 10:40 starts or 2:10 or 3:10 generally for a lot of these hockey games. So moral of the story, women's team is looking like they should coast to the gold medal, assuming everything goes well, and assume that they kind of keep themselves out of the penalty box. Men's team, on the other hand, definitely needs to be a little bit more effective early on in these games, and they just really haven't played to their potential. So got to play to their potential moving forward if they want to win a gold medal in this Olympics. But I cannot wait to see how this all plays out moving forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go USA, and I'll catch you next time.